Welcome, everyone. We are here again with another office hour session. We are very excited to share news with you and also cover some of the community questions. And if you have any questions, we can answer it here. We have again Maruf with us. Welcome, Maruf.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Vanessa.
Yeah, and we have participants Mike. Hi, Mike. Welcome. And we have Brandon. So during this office hour session, please feel free to ask your questions from chat, and we're going to try to answer all of them. And we can start, I guess, with community questions. But before starting that, let me say you something. During the last session, we introduced you. We give some of this information about new action editor, right? Maruf showed us.
Yes.
So we told you that this will be released kind of this week, but now I think we're going to release it tomorrow. Or do you know anything about it, Maruf?
Yeah, like as far as I know, I think it should be by tomorrow because there are some still bug fixing. We are using it and giving constant feedback to our engineer. So it is at a point it is awesome right now. Still, there are some small bugs here and there. So I hope uh, it should be available by tomorrow in the next deploy.
Yeah, we hope so. So Mike says, okay, you can hear us right now, right, Mike? And Brandon, this is my first time jumping into the office hours, so I didn't catch anything previously. You don't have to, Brandon. This is a very casual meeting with our community members like you. So feel free to ask any of your questions here. We can try to show you the answers right in the builder by, we have an expert engineer here with us. Maruf can show us for sure. So if you don't have any specific questions, I think we can start covering our community questions. Let me share my screen. Oh, hey Rahul.
Hey,
Hey
Rahul.
Ramesa, hey Maruf. I hope this time my audio is good as well. It's
Yeah,
not causing
Yeah,
any echoes, yeah? Cool.
no echoes. So just a minute. I think. Okay. So we are going to start with community questions. I hear a little bit echo, by the way, but that's fine. It's better than the previous one. So can you see my screen?
yes.
So here we have a question from Gavin, date and time issue. Hi all, my dates time picker is sending data correctly to Zeno, but when I bring it up in the front end, it comes out in a strange format. Any ideas to fix this?
Sure. I think Maruf, you got this one?
Yeah. Sure. I think yeah, I got this. So basically, it's very simple. So when the data comes into our Draftbit, it comes into a raw timestamp, and our console log prints the only Unix milliseconds. So what we do usually, we use a custom function to format as we need in our front end. So yeah, well, using a custom function, we can format it as we want.
Yeah, great. And I want to ask one more question about it. We have now a transform function about time. I haven't used it, but could you just mention us what it is doing actually?
Sure, we can show you that, Ramesa, and probably what would be helpful for Gavin in this case, if we can live show them how you convert the timestamp that we got to a date time. So maybe Maruf or Ramesa, if you want to just share your builder, and then we'll just take whatever he has and then just convert it into a date and time.
Yeah, sure. Marv, will you share your screen or?
Okay, let me check if I can share.
I mean, it should not take us more than a couple of minutes, but could be very helpful for the user.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes, I think I can do it. My internet connection is stable now. So
Mike
just one
asked
second.
something. Yeah, I will reach out to you via intercom later as my calendar date picker and skipping of the splash screen stopped working with my last publish. They were working great up until then, Maruf. Thanks again for building them for me.
Oh,
You are
cool.
welcome. Okay, I'm sharing my screen. Is it visible?
Yes.
Yes.
Rumesa, can you just give me the number in the chat so that I can it here?
Okay. Number.
It might be a
It was,
string. It might be a picture. Let me see if I can find you a
yeah, it
timestamp.
is. It is picture.
Bear with me a moment.
I can send you the screenshot, I guess, from Slack.
Yep, here you go, Mar. I got that. I'll send it to you, Maruf, on Slack as well, so you can get the number instead.
Okay.
Yeah, I sent the screenshot. Okay.
Or I can also put it in the chat if that's easier here. Oh, we have Brandon here as well. He's saying, well, since we seem to be talking about date pickers, I actually have a related question. I want to get a date picker that does month, year only. I did not find something one may already have done this. Sure. Uh, this is actually a feature of our date picker that we can just show what we want to show. And we can demonstrate that right now for you, Brandon. Maruf, your Slack is visible.
Sorry. I'm using only one screen, so
Yeah, Brandon, I think we wouldn't need another library for it.
okay.
So,
I think we have a format ISO that should do the work. Update ISO.
so after this, Maruf, I think you need to do toString because you're rendering an object. Parse date and then toString.
Yeah, first state.
Mm.
Thanks, Rahul.
Time, man.
Uh,
I hope that
so
works.
yeah, now we are seeing a ISO format. We can do any format we want, but as Brandon said, we have to use some library to do that. Yeah, we can
So,
start from here.
right. So instead of doing this, what we can do for Brandon is let's open a date picker or like add a date picker, and then we will do the formatting on it from the date picker component itself.
This is the format field we can use.
Yeah.
So
So I think if you do I think we have this in the docs. It's could be slightly tricky to find sometimes, but if you do comma YY, that should show you that. Oh,
one,
should it be small m's?
it should be, I think, MO for the date. Do we need the month in text or
So I think remove the comma maybe. Let me go to the docs and just find out as well. I mean, we can remember
Yeah, I
most of the
think that
things, but it's hard. Oh, can you do triple M, Maruf?
capital M?
No, triple M, so MMM.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep, and then you can do year. Okay. When I do that, the picker still chooses a singular date from the calendar. Oh, you did 4 M's for
he
you.
was, yeah, he was using 4 M's, but it should be 3 M's, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
I see what you mean, Brandon. This is just displaying it. So if you want to store it as a month instead of a particular date, then you might want to do how are you storing this in your backend? That would be my question to you. Not just store it, just select it. Okay, so in this case, that can become slightly tricky because what we want to do is it's still in the end gonna be um, a date object which would contain the date that we selected. Um, so once you get that date, once the user selects a date, then you can basically modify it as you're saying to just pick up the month from it. It could still be
yes,
a date object.
that would be the ideal way to do that.
Yeah. Or if you are feeling that this might be a little bit tricky, you can just create your own picker, which would just take the month and which will just show the month and the year. And that gives you the exact month that the user picks up, if that makes sense. So instead of using a date picker, what you'll do is you'll just use a normal picker, which would have the options of January to December, and then you can have another picker that's just gonna pick the years for you. Or I don't know if that helps, but like, from top of our heads, or at least my head, that's what I can think of right now. But if there's something else that can be done, we can reach out to you via community. I hope that helps. Shall we move on to the next one?
Yeah,
Or if you have
let's.
any other questions, Brandon, we can answer those for you.
He was saying, let me rephrase a little. I'm asking people under the age of 18 to provide me their birth month and year, but I'm not allowed to ask them their actual birthday. Ideally, I'd still be storing a date after they select it. Doing the two
Gotcha.
pickers makes sense though too. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Let's move on to the
Yeah, like,
second one.
yes,
Sorry.
please.
Rahul.
No, I was saying I think that's the most easiest route for you, Brandon, is just rather than messing with the date objects, you can uh, you can do the single, like the double picker way, or like use a custom function to basically, once you get the date object, just extract the month from it and the year, and then send that over to your backend. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, Marv, I sent you the link of the second question since your screen is
Okay.
open right now.
Just 1 second. I'm sharing my screen again.
Yeah, that works too, Mike. Thank you.
Yeah, he would like
So,
to, no, sorry. A little bit up, please. Yeah, this one. We would like to make our app fully usable offline, as well as it being smart to start syncing data as from the moment an internet connection is back available. Are there any best practices? Valuable information people can share.
Okay. I think Dave has already answered this one, and your best approach to doing it would be this. That's the ideal approach, is you have an offline database, and Expo is compatible with SQLite, which is pretty cool. We don't have that built into Draftbit, so you would be using our custom code component to implement stuff like this. This is still on our radar that we want to do sometime in the future, but unfortunately, we have some bigger fishes right now that we are working on. So I would strongly suggest take that approach. There is a hacky way of doing it by using device variables, but we wouldn't recommend that. But it's still possible if you store all the data in device variables and display your components through that. But SQLite is the best way of doing it because that becomes seamless. We do offer expert services if you need help in implementing the SQLite in your Draftbit application. And Maruf, if you have any thoughts on it, or Ramesa, you can share.
Yeah, great. I mean, I think they've already answered it and you covered all of them. Rahul, I don't have anything to add. Do you have, Marv?
yeah, I think so. Like everything is covered in this date post. Nothing from my side.
So maybe we can, okay, so then I sent you the another question. You can, from Slack,
Okay.
we can continue with that. Or I can share my screen as well.
No,
Oh,
it's
No,
okay.
you're, I think you are going to show, right? Something to
Yeah.
us. Okay.
Yeah. I think we discussed it. I was thinking about it after reading this post. Yeah. So it is about dynamically adding a new element. So let's jump into the demo.
Yeah, actually, what Carrie was asking, she was just making a to-do list, and he wants to add a button. And when clicking on that button, this will create a new input screen, new input component. And when we type in it, and on return or other action, it will add dynamically the new to-do into the list.
Oh, got it. So it's not adding a dynamic input. It's basically creating a to-do app. And Kerry, I don't know if you're listening to this. We have a live demo of someone creating a to-do app in Draftbit. Actually, George, he used to be a head of product. So that link is available on YouTube. So you should be able to find it, or we will find it for you and post it here. That will actually be the best demo for you because with React Query and with Draftbit, creating a to-do app is very, very straight process, and you should be at least have a very basic version of it ready within a few hours. So if you just follow along with that tutorial, you would be good. Maruf, although what you have is a very great demo about how we add dynamic input fields, maybe what we can do is once we're done with these set of questions, you can demonstrate that because it is, I don't know, are you using custom code in that?
No, it's I think builder like built-in solution. So yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, but this won't work in this use case, right? Because I think because of the post that was added, the way it was written, we thought it was basically dynamically adding input fields that we do in different applications.
Yeah.
All right. Then we can continue with the other question.
Okay.
If you like, I can share my screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay. So Don was asking this question, transform return JSON into. Hi, how do I convert a JSON value into something I can submit to Supabase database? I have now a barcode scanner, which is fetching data from an API and returns me, for example, this. So this is basically a JSON, right? With an array, with an item in it. So now I have the following structure. My fetch is getting the data from the API. Now it should, after fetching, post data into the database. But it only works if I put static data. With JSON dot something, it posts me to all column null. So what he's doing is actually he was making an API request on success trigger of the fetch component, and actually trying to make a post here using JSON.something in the body configuration. I thought that maybe we can replicate this and see and understand what's happening here.
Cool.
Let's add a fetch component. So I have here two endpoints. One is getting information of two people. As you can see here, we have two objects here, the first person and the second person information. And also, sorry, here we have post API call. Again, so we are going to try and use values coming from our get API call and put them here in the body configuration. So this is just for demonstrating the JSON dots, blah, blah, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So let's define our endpoint. We're going to define the get API call here. As you can see here in the preview. And on the interactions tab, we're going to add on success trigger. And here, as Don did, we are adding an API request and making a post API call here. So what he was doing is actually using here the JSON dot something, right? Let's try to console log it. Here. So this is undefined, as you can see. So to understand why we need to first figure out what is the fetch data actually. Here, as you can see, we have also the fetch data, which comes from the action, the fetching the data from the backend. So let's break down its structure using, again, console log. So as you can see, the fetch data actually is a response from our API call. And we have status here, which indicates the HTTP status code from API, and status tags, which is a textual representation of it. It's empty, it's fine. And we have text. This contains the JSON formatted string of the representation of our data. And here at the very bottom, actually our main player, the JSON, as you can see. So this is the JSON data consists of an array of objects where each object contains, details about an individual in this case, right? We have those objects. So using here in the dropdown, options like JSON avatar, JSON title, etc., can be misleading if not understood in the right context. So these actually represents the available unique identifiers for our data. So basically, let me show it. When we add list component, we usually do and select top level response, right? Actually, this top level response represents the JSON coming from our fetch data. And we are defining item unique keys. So JSON.avatar, JSON.bio actually represents these item unique keys for mapping to data. So what if you want to retrieve these anyway? So in that case, you need to use dot notation, right? So here we have fetch data. Let's just retrieve the JSON here. You see, now we got the JSON data, actually, which corresponds to top level response at the same time. And now let's retrieve the first object. So we're just passing. Okay. Now here, we got the first person's data. And if we want to, for example, extract the email information here, then we need to now add email here as a key path. And now we successfully retrieved the email. So Dom, what you need to do here is if you want to retrieve, for example, here in, then you need to use JSON. And also you need to include 0 here. Or if you have any other items that you are interested in, for example, 1, 2, you can include that one, and you need to use the correct dot notation for the corresponding data, right? Do you have anything to add, Maruf, Rahul?
I think, yeah, you have explained it correctly. So, yeah, that should solve this problem.
Perfect. Great. Sorry, Ramesa, I was busy answering people on chat. Devi
That's okay.
has a great idea. Devi has a great idea. So just addressing that, and just so that everyone knows, do you guys think it would be possible to do office hours based on a specific training? For example, asking in the community what setup people would like to see, like set up Stripe payments or set up Google OAuth or connecting Google Calendar and so on, which is great. So maybe what we can do is have, or I don't know if it's possible that you can reply back to our office hours post and say, this is what we would like to see and whatever gets the most likes. And if it's possible for us to demo live, we would be more than happy to do that.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Davey. Actually, Davey always comes up with great ideas about Osiris. Thanks, Davey. So
Okay.
let's move on. Another one. The button color change. Yeah, I promised Gavin to demo this one in office hours. So is there a way to make it so that once pressed, a button changes color, just to make it obvious that the response has been locked? So I want to just demonstrate it quickly, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So we have two methods for doing this, right? We have low-code implementation and also no-code implementation. I'm going to show you both. For the first implementation, we are going to use a little bit custom code, but very basic one. But first, let's place a button component. And here, we need to define a screen variable here, let's say is pressed. This will, of course, continue control when the value changes for the screen variables, our button's color will change dynamically. So initially,
Yeah,
I'm going to set this as
Sorry,
false.
sorry to interrupt there, Ramesa. I think you would want to choose the type to be Boolean.
Yeah, I think
String
it's
might be
automatically. Okay. It works anyway, by the way, right,
yeah,
Rahul?
it
Because
should
I'm
work.
using,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm using
correct.
this.
But
I'm using like this generally, but the correct way, yes, you're right. So I'm going to use onPress trigger and set variable is pressed, and using negate function. So once it's pressed, the value will be changed to true. Now we need a custom function. So I'm going to press is pressed as a parameter here, and going to make return is pressed. So we are just checking the value of is pressed. If it is true, then let's say it will orange. And if it's not, then it will be purple. So is this correct, right?
Yeah, you are going right direction.
We, we
Okay,
will find
that's
out
great.
shortly.
Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm I'm going to set I'm going to use this function in the background color of the button.
Oh,
So
cool. Those are
when I
dynamic
click,
values, right?
yes,
Yeah.
the dynamic value. So what I need to do is I need to pass here the screen variable that we created is pressed, because this will be controlling um, the the color change, right?
Yes.
And I'm going to use our custom function. Yeah, there you go. Now, when I click on it, it turns orange and again purple. I think it's not orange, right? It's much more yellowish, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
looks good though. Pretty impressive.
So this is the dynamic styling, the low code method, and we have no code method as well, right? We can just make it with conditional displaying. Should I show that one too?
Yeah, should be relatively quick. Probably you could have done it on the same screen, but that's fine.
Okay, so basically what we're doing here is we're hiding one and displaying the another one. So we need different colors here for the button components. Let's make it red or pink. What color is it? I'm not sure. Let's create again express. Let's make it boolean and false. Save. And for this component, we're just making, conditional displaying this one, but again, using the screen variable here is pressed. So this will be hidden at the first place, and oops, not this here is pressed. Okay. And of course, when we pressed on it, we need to change the value of the screen variable, right? For both of them using negate transform function. And we do the same thing here. So here we go. So by using both
Amazing.
as a custom function or just using the builder features, you can just dynamically display things and create more functional and user-friendly apps, right?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Ramesa. And Mike,
Thank you.
to answer, just to comment on what you posted, back in the day, uh, this was not available. So this is a feature that we launched about 3 months ago. So yeah, and this dynamic coloring is pretty cool. You can basically use that for doing theming in your app. So, a light theme or a dark theme, all of those things are actually possible. Mesa, it's strange. I can see your video in your shared screen, but on my original screen, your video is paused.
My video? Really?
Yeah, I think
By the way, okay.
It's happening same for me. I think it's a
yeah, it's like a network issue, I think.
mm,
It's a
Cool.
bug. Anyway, so Davey was asking about the screenshot. Okay, Davey, I think we can give the code snippet right in the forum community
Yep.
later.
yeah. He can collect it from the recorded video, right? We're going to post it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
And also, we have another question I'm going to show you. Yeah, changing text on picker value. So I currently want to have a picker function such that the new value chosen will be portrait, like this. Currently, this says BA economics, but if I want to switch it to the following, the new text value does not appear on the picker. This is how
Yeah.
I currently have the picker set up. So he basically defined an initial value as a data source. And then on value change trigger, we used a screen variable. So what is the
Not
problem, guys?
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's not the correct way of setting up the picker. I mean, that's one way of setting up the picker. But usually what you want to do is you want to use the data source as your variable that holds the value of the picker. So as soon as you make a change, whenever you pick up an option, it would reflect that right away.
Yeah,
Because right
I
now,
think,
what's happening is, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, please continue.
No, I think you were saying something, and Maruf was also saying something. So
Okay, I was saying that, sorry, Maruf. Okay,
No,
please go,
I just,
Maruf.
yeah. So I just want to say, wanted to say the same thing because when you when the on change action trigger happens, the data source is looking for that local variable. So that's why it's not reflecting the new value. So as Rahul suggested, that will solve the problem.
Yeah, I think what he's trying to do is he just wants to display an initial value here, right?
Mhm.
But also he wants to change and select the value here from the picker.
So in that case, you would need to set the initial value, like the picker value, whatever it is, on screen focus, which would set the default value in the picker. We can
Do we,
quickly show you that.
we'll just simply pass as initial value here, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I think option, this option here. Oops. Okay.
I think in the
Okay,
initial,
foo and bar. I think we need to define here foo.
I think it would
Um,
be, you might have to set it as an object. I don't know, Maruf,
um,
if you've done it before.
I think what you can do, you can just copy the whole object and paste it directly in the options value instead of using the app variable.
Yeah.
Oh, oh no, I think Maruf, what's happening here is the picker value is being set as a string and it might be expecting a different picker value. So
Object.
she's trying to set the initial value. I think Mike, that might just be a one-off case. We haven't noticed the picker's data configuration changed since we moved to Expo 48. But um, we did have some issues with the picker as well lately because we made a bunch of changes to our picker component and making it more useful. So yeah,
Let me try just
haven't
I
heard it
think
from anyone
nothing.
else.
Sorry, guys. I think because of me, I shouldn't. I haven't chosen the picker options here. That's yeah. Sorry. Okay. I was selecting the picker value screen variable, not the picker options. that was a problem.
Oh, cool.
So everything is fine. Our picker component is perfectly working. Okay, no bugs, nothing. So and also, so also we have perfectly defined the initial value for our picker component. As you can see, this is the initial value, and also we can choose here the options, right? Bar, foo, bar, as you can see, works. So for the picker option, for the picker component, we can say that if you want to display an initial value, you should better make it in the screen variable initial value, right? Here,
Yes.
not here. It's not working for pickers, I guess. It's working for text inputs or other components. I think it's a very, very valuable feature of React Native, but not working perfectly for picker options.
Sorry, just want to add something there. So there's a difference between initial values and data source. So initial values is basically how your picker loads. And if you want the picker to change its value, you should always use a data source. So for instance, right now, the initial value is foo, and if you try to make a change right now, Rumesa, it would
Yeah,
not make any change in the picker.
you see, it seems like you are selecting, but actually it's not assigning any value to your screen variable,
Correct, because
right?
all our components are stateful components, so their states get updated by the state variable that you choose.
Even, for example, I select the action data here. Since I have data source here, it won't change the value, right?
Yep,
Okay.
I think Jeff has a good question, and we are almost at time. So let's address that for now, and then we will call it a day unless anyone else has further questions. Or Romesa, is there anything left for us to cover from your list?
I mean,
Or something that you would like to cover?
no, I think that's all.
Okay.
Let's
Maruf,
cover
is there
Jeff's
anything?
question.
Yeah, perfect.
Sorry.
Maruf, is there anything that you would want to show demo before we go down to the test flight? Because that's going to be answered very, very quickly because we have Jeff, just so you know, actually, let me just address it right now. But if you need more clarity, we can talk about it more. So we have great documentation on how you would publish your app to test flight. You can go to our docs section and go to publishing. Maybe Ramesa, if your screen is shared, you can show our docs.
Publishing your app. You can see my screen, right?
Yes,
So
I think it's
here we
pretty.
have a general, I mean, not general, very detailed information about publishing your app to both stores, right?
Right. So there are, sorry to interrupt there, Ramesa. So there are basically multiple ways of publishing your app. One is self-publishing and one is publishing through our one-click publishing process. And the doc that Ramesa has just shared is the one-click publishing. We usually advise all our users to use one-click publishing because it takes out a bunch of hassle that you need to do on your own end. So in Draftbit, it's that simple as pressing a button and you should be publishing to test flight. Maybe I made it sound very easy than actually it is. There is a setup step involved, which Rumesa is just going through. But as I said, it's as detailed as possible here, and you should be able to follow this.
Yeah, it's not easy, but it's easier than self-publishing, we can say.
Okay. All right. I hope that answers your question, Jeff. Or if you have more, if you need more clarity, happy to answer that for you right now. And then for Brandon, probably a bunch of ways to do this, but what's the best practice suggested way for doing onboarding screens? That is screens that appear on the initial launch but do not display again.
Flash,
I've got
flash screen,
I've got a
right?
oh no, onboarding screens. That's
Onboarding.
slightly different than the splash screen. So one good way to do this, Brandon. Oh, there we go. Davey's got an answer for you. Amazing. So there you go. But just to address both of you for one particular use case, um, sometimes it's easier. Oh, sorry, Mesa, can you mute yourself? There's a lot of background
I'm
noise
so
coming from. Thank you. So yeah, what Davey suggested works and would work for 99% of the cases. The only one challenge in this would be, for instance, if a user deletes the application or installs the app on a new phone, the device variable will not be set in that case. So a good practice to do this is you can store this value if the user is onboarded or not on your backend. And then on the initial app launch, after the login, not the initial app, sorry, you get the information back from your backend, knowing that if the user has completed the onboarding steps or not, which would be again a Boolean as Davey suggested, true or false. And whatever we get back from the backend, you can have a conditional navigation based on the response from your server. So if the onboarding is true, you move them to your home navigator. If the onboarding is false, you move them to your onboarding navigator. So basically have your screens as a part of a navigator. You're too kind, Davey. Where do you do the logic? So in this case, the logic would be on the login button, the action stack. Love to see conditional screens as no-code feature built in down the road. Oh, that would be amazing, but I don't know if you have seen our new action editor. That would make our stuff doing conditions in our action stack much easier. I hope I'm not leaking away information, but that's something that's coming very, very soon. And if Maru, if you have something to demo, then you can probably show the action editor as well.
Oh,
I
sure.
think you should.
I would like to do that. Yeah. Okay. Let me share my screen. So, is my screen visible? Okay.
Yes, Maru, sorry, I was on mute.
Okay, thank you. So this is the new action editor. So we have all those actions, available actions in our left side. We can add. We can declare a variable. Set a value here on the fly. Then most elegant thing in this action is the if-else structure. You can add as much as if-else, nested if-else in as you want, and this view will automatically zoom in and zoom out depending on that. So we can zoom in, zoom out, So you can have access. You have access to that variable you created. Equal to. So I'm checking my created variable value is equals to full. I want to do something else. Do some alert. So I can drag the action here. Okay. If it's not, then I can do something else. I can whether open I can do a navigate. Go back and drag it here. So if you want to add more if and else, you can add it. You can also change the order of the actions in the tree. Suppose I want to say move it to the right side of the if else branch, so I can do that. I think I have to zoom out a little bit. Okay. So yeah, it looks great.
Definitely does. We do have another question here, Maruf. Is there anything else you want to demo?
Nope. Yeah, all good.
Okay. So let's add the slider component. Oh, I was just going to let you do it. So if you can add this, if you don't mind sharing your screen again. There's a question about minimum and maximum values for the slider component.
Okay.
Let's just show that off to Jeff. So I think Jeff, probably in our docs, it was under the configs, but with the recent update, we moved it to the data panel. So, and Maruf will demonstrate that to you.
So this is our slider component, and
under the data.
Okay, so here we can set a main value of 10, max value of 100.
And then maybe Maruf also have a text component that shows what the value of the picker is.
Thank you, Rahul. I'm doing that.
Thanks.
So I'm going to render the slider value here. So currently it's 0. So as you can see, I am moving, but I can't set it below 10. So max is 100 and min is 10. If I change the minimum value to 20,
So, Jeff, do you mean the stepper component, or do you mean the steps in our slider component? Because I think under configs we might have that option. What one? Let me not
yes, we
speak
have.
before myself. Right. So you can also set that up to be how your value increments once you do an increment. So maybe let's do a value of 10.
So we have a minimum value of 20. Our step is 10. So if I move once, it will be 30. In the next step, it should be 40 and 50 and go on. So yeah,
Perfect.
that's it.
And I think we have a stepper component as well, Maruf, as far as I remember.
Stepper. Yep. Sorry. So icon size. Yeah. It doesn't have that configuration of mean or max value, but you can increase or decrease the value like this. Thanks to our engineering team for those cool components.
Yeah. So Jeff, you can just set the step as 1. So Maruf, maybe let's try that on the slider if it's still there on your screen. So he's saying that he wants to move 1 step at a time.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay. So step.
you need the stepper to control the drive. I need a stepper to control the slider. Oh, that could be straightforward as well, Maruf.
Yeah.
So
So
the
as
data
a data
source
source, we
for, yep, there you go.
don't need that. Okay.
I
Okay.
think
We are
because the
setting a
minimum
stepper
value
value.
is, yeah, I think the
Yeah.
minimum value is set, right?
Thank you. Now it's moving. Let's start with 0 and we will be able to see.
It's actually pretty
There you
neat.
go.
I feel like, yeah, I feel like we can use this in apps to do something else as well. So yeah, great idea, Jeff. Thank you. So we have a last closing question from Jose. Or yeah, so is Draftbit good, appropriate to build complex apps to be used 50-50 in PC or phones? So Jose, Draftbit basically lets you build apps for iOS, Android, and a PWA for the web. So a PWA is a progressive web app, which is like a website. So if you're talking about a website rather than an installable desktop app, yes, you can build as complex apps as you think, or you would be able to build via, your VS Code editor or just going straight the code route. The great flexibility in Draftbit, what we love is we have a bunch of things that do, like we have a bunch of no code components, but we also let you bring in your own components using NPM packages or even with your own custom logic and code that you can put in your application. So I hope that helps. But if you need more clarity, I can answer your follow-up question. Or if there aren't any, we are actually way over time. And I'm sure Rumesa and Maruf are pretty busy. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Oh, sorry, Rumesa, that's on you. My bad.
No, that's okay. Please go. Yeah. Thank you guys. It's always I mean it's very good to have you here, you know. Maruf, thank you for all your demo and answering questions. And Rahul, we need to see you here often, I guess. Thank you so much for joining again, making some time to join here. And for our participants, thank you very much for all of your questions. And please feel free to reach out whenever you want, whenever you have issues. We are happy to answer all of your questions. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Okay, then bye. See you.